What is up, everybody? Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to today's episode of Midday Monster with Adam. And we are talking about our story, making sure everything is set early. I have this thing when I go live on Facebook and I use like all the things, like a different camera and everything. It makes me like have to set it from private to like open to public. But anyways, it's all set. Here it goes. I'm just saying that I did that earlier. So yeah. All right, so let's get started. We're gonna be talking about our stories. We were talking about our story this week on how the power of the vulnerability in the story is powerful for the person that's reading, how they could learn from the experience and how you could connect with them and show them that you were them or that they are you, and how you just connect on that level of being with them. You know what? My little sister told me that she wanted me to let her know that she was, when I was on act. There we go. Boop. There we go. Hold on 1 second. And so yeah, so we're talking about our story and how that helps. And then today, I thought it would be a great example for me to share my true, authentic story with you guys on how powerful it could be. Whether it's from me being a brother and to a sister, or a brother to 3 other brothers, or to a gay son, to a mom, or to a dad. Whether it's like, you know, from a big Mexican family, you know, whatever story aspect that I give you, you know, a gay man growing up with HIV, a chef making it on his own, a coach making his own business, me doing my life, whatever aspect of the story that it is, that's what's going to relate to you. Like, not the whole story, but whatever comes through to you in the story is what's meant for you. So it's like the whole idea of, like, you know, take what applies and just leave the rest. I'm on. Anyways. All right, cool. So who's on? Tell me who's on. One person just watching? 2 people. We got 2 people. Fuck yeah. All right, so sit down, relax. This is going to be my story. All right, so my name's Adam Martinez. Adam Arnulfo Martinez. I was told that I was named after my grandpa. I come from one of those big Mexican families where there's like so many people you can't even count. And then those families splintered off into so many people you can't even count. So I'm one of those families, from one of those families. And then so I had 3 older brothers and 1 little sister. And my mom and dad were together until I was like 15. So like I might like jump around a little bit, but it all matters. And I might rename some people because that matters. And then some details don't really matter, but the story behind the story matters. I'm nervous. All right. So everything was hunky-dory. So I was like 6 years old. Was when the first traumatic event happened. I was in the 2nd grade, and I was at a family event, and I got ran over by a car. My 2 cousins wanted me to go across the street to call my brother so we could play hide and go seek, and they told me that they would watch me cross the street so I could go call him. Which we lived right across the street from my aunt at the time. And I crossed the street, and I look to my left, and all of a sudden, I see a car, like, and the car, like, hits me. And I remember, like, getting hit by the car and going underneath it and seeing, like, the undercarriage of the car, like, go over me and thinking, like, wow, I'm underneath the car. And then the next thing I know, I look towards here, and I see the tire coming, and then, like, lights out, you know. And I remember waking up. I remember somebody telling me, like, well, this is the weird part of the story. I remember, like, hey, wake up, Adam, we need you to wake up. And come on, Adam, wake up, you know. And then I remember, like, waking up, right? And the ambulance thing and getting put in the ambulance and stuff like that. And basically, I got sent to the hospital. It was about 2 weeks or so before my 7th birthday. And I ended up getting out. And but I ended up surviving. I had a broken pelvis. And this weird bump in my chest got moved with my ribs, and I broke my arm, and I have like this weird bump on the back of my head right here, and because I guess like my head, like my skull, like scratched on the asphalt, and that's when like the calcium washes over your bone to like super hard in it and make more bone, like when your bone breaks. Um, so that's what that was, and I had like I remember having like staples right here, and so yeah, so I survived that, and I didn't go to school for a while. Um, and my bed was in the living room, and I remember one time like I wanted to get the crayons off the top of the refrigerator, and nobody was around to help me get them, and I remember scooting myself off to the side of the bed and standing because I didn't remember how to walk. I had to relearn how to walk because I guess my feet and stuff like weren't responsive in the right way that they should have. Um, and so I had to teach myself it all. I remember getting off this side of the bed and scooting over and standing up on my own. And then I remember I was so excited that I stood up on my own with nobody's help because I was already going to physical therapy for that. And I remember I was like standing up on my own, and I remember I took like 3 steps, and I got so excited that I stopped because I got excited, and I went back to the bed. And when my mom woke up, I remember I was so excited to show her that I got up and moved on my own with nobody helping me. And little by little, it was because I wanted those crayons. I wanted those freaking crayons on top of the refrigerator. That I moved and kept on trying to teach myself how to walk again, or start walking again, and then whatnot. And so that happened, and yeah. So like moving on into the story, I was a cool little kid, and not a cool, I was a dorky little kid, in second grade, and I think that's so I'm a gay man. And that's when my first experience was in second grade with, one of the cool, popular kids in class, and me and him would like hang out all the time, after class and stuff. And, it was curiosity kid stuff, but I didn't know what it was called. I didn't know what it was called, and I thought it was okay, and there was no shame around it yet, until the name faggot and hoto and things like that were called and associated with liking other boys, or liking a certain color, or speaking in a certain way, or having your hand in a certain way. Like all that stuff was made fun of, and I started to learn that that was bad. Like any kind of sign of things like that were bad and were considered gay, and gay was a bad term. And I still didn't know what liking a boy was. I just knew that anything that kind of resembled that was bad and that it should be put away. And so those were like, as those little instances happened, I like to explain it as like, those are those little steps back into the closet that we say that we come out of when we tell other people that we're gay. Those little things of learning that being that way is bad from society or the people around us. That's what puts us back in that's what puts us in the closet. That's what makes us take steps. That is what makes us, I feel, take steps back into the closet and hide ourselves. And that's what coming out of the closet is. It's like, fuck it, I'm coming out of the closet. I don't give a shit what anybody says. Anyways, so those little things happen, and yeah, I was a good little kid. Like I was a good little kid. I didn't have any like those childhood trauma things. Like my dad and my mom spanked us only when we deserved it. And 1 or 2 times it was a little bit too much. But like that's our perspective as we were kids. We didn't know what we were doing, and just yeah, like I had a few things I can't say anything bad about my childhood because I got everything that I wanted, really. Super Nintendo, new TV, looking back, like, oh, we could say I didn't get all the cool micro machines and things like that I wanted, but I don't remember needing things that I really needed and wasn't ashamed that I didn't have. So and so like moving on into like probably like my preteen years, like me and my mom were really great. Like I love going everywhere with my mom. I did a lot of things where I would always go to town with her, which was like to the grocery stores and getting all the groceries for the house. And she would give me the little coupons for what she needed so I could go play supermarket sweep and like get all the grocery items for her. And just like that was really cool. Those were my memories with my mom, and I felt like that always bonded us. We always went to like the cool little restaurants, like Winter Essentials and stuff like that, and we had ourselves like little treat snacks and stuff with each other. Like that's what I love. Those were me. Like we feed the pigeons and stuff, and like those were my moments with my mom. And then just coming up into like my teenage years, me and my mom were in a car accident where we were on our way to go see my dad and grab something from there, and this car just came speeding and just like rammed our Astro van from the back. You could look that up, a Chevy Astro van. Those things are fucking tanks. Um, Rammed that Astro van from the back, and the van like tipped up on its front bumper, spun around, and ended up facing the other direction. I ended up and I was in the front seat, and I ended up in the back seat, all the way in the back seat. How fucking crazy is that? Like, how does it have to spin for me to end up all the way back there? Anyways, I got this like little scar on my eye up here. My mom was okay. She had hurt her wrist. Like, all the windows were blown out, and I remember like the fireman saying that, like how do they not like fly out of the car? And so so like that happened. I felt like that's something that bonded me and my mom. And then the next big event that came up was me coming out of the closet. That was a big thing. That was a big thing because my mom and dad were divorcing at the same time. And at that time, the only way that me and my mom could communicate was through writing letters to each other. That was the only way that I felt comfortable to talk to my mom. I felt where she had to listen to me because she had to read it and she couldn't respond back to me. But like that's how I felt. Like that's how I felt. Like it was going to be like that. And then she would write me letters back too, like telling me that she loved me and explaining some of the things, and just felt like how I felt like ignored and stuff like that. At the same time, what was going on was I had started coinciding what was going on with that. I started doing drugs at a young age. I started doing like crystal meth and smoking weed at a very young age, like before I was 13 years old, and that had a big effect on me. And it kind of like stunted my ability to, like, it didn't stunt my ability because here I am mature enough to admit it and be here and share my story with you guys. But it was just like it was something that was going on that added to just the chaos of what was there. And there's more stories into that, but that's just remember that that's playing on at the same time. And just those emotions of drug withdrawal and ups and down as a young teen, and just feeling these feelings of not being in an identity that you're comfortable with, and just not knowing who to talk to like about it, because your own person that you were connected to is going through their own stuff, which was my mom, I felt. And just it was just amazing to where it got funneled into. I felt like I needed to tell my mom as a cry for help. Look, mom, this is who I am. Not so much as the drug part, because I was having fun with that, but the fact that I'm gay and I need to tell you because I feel like I'm lying to you. I'm gay and I want you to know because I feel like this will help us connect, because I need you to connect to me. These are my feelings. This is my feelings. This is, as an older adult, I realized that those were the feelings that I was feeling. So, like I said, we wrote letters to each other. So here comes my 15th birthday, and nothing was really planned. And that kind of had an effect on me, because, girls on their 15th birthday get quinceañeras. And I joked around that I wanted a quinceañero, but there was nothing really big done. Hey, calm down. There was nothing really big done. I remember we went to another friend's quinceañera, a girl from down the street. So anyways, that night, I had a letter from my mom telling her that I was gay. There was a little poem. I want her to find it. She's cleaning her room and getting things remodeled right now, so I'm hoping she comes across it and finds it, because I would love to read it to you guys. But I wrote her a little poem telling her that I'm gay and that not really I'm bisexual, but like, because I still didn't know, but now I'm gay. Mom, I'm gay. But that's how it was, and I remember like. I was like, Mom, I need to talk to you. She's like, no. And then I'm like, well, there's something on your desk that I want you to read. And she's like, okay, fine. Because we were in argument. Like, I did something stupid. Oh, she caught me smoking weed. She had caught me smoking weed on the side of the house or something like that, right? A few days before. That's why we didn't really do anything on my birthday, because she was still mad at me. I'm remembering now, because she caught me and my brother smoking weed, my brother Andrew. And her and my dad were so mad at us, and or upset at us. And then so she didn't want to talk to me still, and then so I left her the letter, and then I go to bed, and I'm like there, and then like I could hear my mom go into the room that I put the letter on her computer desk, and I hear her opening it, and then I hear like, the gasp, and then I hear her walk from that room into my dad's room, where their bedroom, where my dad's already asleep, and I hear Joe, and I hear like the slap on his back, like that, like wake up, like the slapping on his back, like it was like so wow, and then like the time span of what it takes for my dad to read something, right, and then my dad gets up and he comes into my room, and I turn over facing the wall, and he's like, son, are you awake? And like he doesn't sound like that, but my dad, like older man, dude, and I just like, and then and he's like, I could feel him nod his head because the vibration of him nodding his head shook the bed. That's how big my dad is. Like a man is right there. The weight of a man is sitting on my bed. And here I am, like so fragile and vulnerable of exposing myself, waiting to be one of those stories where the kid gets kicked out at that moment on the streets and not knowing what to fucking do. Like here I am already having a drug issue, and there I am. The next thing is what I need is to get kicked out on the street. And then my dad says next, did you write that to your mom? And my reply is, and then I feel the vibration of the bed shake as he nods his head. And then he goes, well, son, I just want you to know that it's okay. We'll talk about it tomorrow, okay? And then I just like started crying, and then he like just like rubbed my back and stuff, and then he got up. He's like, we'll talk about it tomorrow. And then he went back to bed, right? And I went to bed. I remember I went to bed. So later on the next day, he comes home, and he grabs himself a beer and a cigarette, and he's like, son, come outside. And so I'm like, all right, Dad. And so I go outside, and he goes, I want to talk to you about last night and the other and the few days before that when we got caught smoking weed. And I don't know where my brother Andrew was at. I don't know why he wasn't there in that conversation. But he goes, you see these two things? And he showed me the cigarette and the beer. He's like, I don't buy these unless I know you guys have food in the refrigerator, the bills are paid, the lights on, the house is paid for, and you guys have everything you need. I don't buy these until all my responsibilities are taken care of. If they're not taken care of, he's like, these are my habit. If I don't have the money to pay for my habit, guess what? I don't have the habit. But unless my priorities are paid for, guess what? I get to pay for my habit. So I'm like, all right. He's like, so this is what I'm telling you. Don't have a habit you can't afford. You understand that? And I was like, yes, Dad. And then so he's like, so about you being gay. He didn't say about you being gay, but he was like, about you in your situation. He's like, son, I want my son to be happy. Whatever makes my son happy, I'm happy. And then he goes, but I'm going to tell you one thing, son. He's like, if you're going to live that kind of lifestyle, I want you to know one thing. He's like, you're going to need money. He goes, because when you have money, nobody could tell you what to do. And that kind of like put me in not like a money scarcity kind of idea, but just like a kind of like a bracement of like that this kind of lifestyle could be difficult and be weary, Well, back then at that time, probably what we were experiencing in 2001 of what was going on at that time. Yeah, like a lot of shit was going on for gay people at the time. So of course my dad was gonna be scared. Of course my mom was scared. But I think my mom was like more weird about it than my dad. But also I think my dad also had a friend that I found out later on that my dad had a close friend who him and his son had the same experience, and the dad, his friend, kind of like kicked his son to the side and realized that he doesn't want that same thing with his son if that would ever happen. Because they knew this little homo was a gay way, way, way before I was 15. So, dang, we're on 19 minutes already. That's a long story. So, okay, so 15 years old, gay, coming out of the closet, and Me and my mom stopped talking from that point. We stopped talking for a while. Like the conversation between us, like, man, it like stopped. Like, so that you imagine like going from going with your mom everywhere to the grocery store all the time, going with your mom everywhere, to that just like stopping. And like it was like I just lost my I didn't like I lost my friend, like I lost the person that I did everything with. And then at the growing time, like me and my brother are also doing drugs and stuff like that. And let me give you like a kind of like backstory of what the brother thing is like my brother Andrew is my brother, and then my two older brothers, they're brothers, like same mom and dad, of course. But when I mean like they're brothers, is like they're partner brothers. They do everything with each other. And me and my brother Andrew, we're partner brothers, and we did everything with each other, including drugs. Not that the other two partner brothers did that with each other. No, they didn't do that. This is me and Andrew getting into our own fucking mischief. And and it was just like I wanted to do everything that my brother did. Like I loved my brother, and so there was that thing of like ride or die. I defended him. I covered up for him. I like lied for him to my mom all the time, and I lied to my mom because why not lie to her? She wasn't in with me anymore. She was always mad at me for some reason. Um, that went on for a while, and then I just started to stop. I just stopped. Like I stopped doing so much drugs, and I realized I like smoking weed more and drinking, and um, so I became a pothead. And I was just smoking weed, and I started working. I got my first job, and during that time, like I got reacquainted with my best friend Rosa. Like it was years. Like my best friend from high school, Rosa. Like it was awesome. We used to ride with each other on the bus all the time. Um, but we got reacquainted and we started our friendship anew again. Like, and now we're like best friends, and she's my ride or die. And just going into it more, it's just like I started like doing my own thing, gathering my own stuff, and acquiring like the things that you get when you have that first job. The DVD player, the new TV, the stereo, the surround sound system. All those cool things, the hidden stash of money somewhere. And so like so one night I have all that stuff in my room, right? And I come home. Over time, my brother got kicked out, and he got out on the streets, and he lost all kinds of stuff on his own. That's his own story. But one night I come home from work, and I would lock my door, and come home from work, and I open my door, and the window was broken, and my TV was missing, and my DVD player was missing, and luckily my little hidden stash of money wasn't missing. But the things that I acquired for myself were missing, and I knew right away it was my brother. I knew it was him, and I was getting into the woo woo at that time. In high school, I started doing tarot cards and stuff. That's another part of the story too. Um, I was really into my woo woo at the time, like my spiritual self and whatnot. And like I remember getting so angry at that moment that I remember feeling like all my whole like negative energy that I could conjure up in my body, and just like sending it out into the universe for it to find him and catch him and just bam, just like obliterate him, because I felt betrayed. I felt backstabbed. I felt attacked. I felt abandoned. I felt like who was this person that did this to me? You were my brother. Like how could you do that to me? And so like yeah, I felt this like surge of like just like energy pulse that just going out to find him and just take him out. A few days later, we find out that he got picked up by the cops and for something stupid, and got sent to jail, prison, and all that, and was sent away for like almost like 13 years. Because just stuff his just never had the turnaround that he wanted, and I always felt responsible for that. I still do. I even told him about that one time to try to like release myself from that grab so he could forgive me for it. And he did, and stuff, but I still feel kind of like responsible for that. But yeah, so going on like in the years, like I ended up just like going from like fast food to fast food place. I had no idea that I wanted to be a chef. I know I wanted to go into cooking school, like in in high school, but I couldn't do that, and like my mom wouldn't support me going to Arizona to go to cooking school, and so I just had little fast food jobs, and I got turned on to massage therapy from a few friends, and I did massage therapy, and I was really good at that, and I had my own practice for a few years, and then I wanted to stop doing that and get back into cooking because that's what I was doing in my spare time in between clients was cooking at home because I had a lot of time in between clients because I was making good money that I didn't have to take so many clients, and so in spare time I developed cooking, and I got a job as a breakfast chef at IHOP, and then that led to running into an old roommate that got me a job at this restaurant called Palm Greens Cafe as a dishwasher, and I just loved the way they did food there, and it was a vegan and vegetarian restaurant, but they made everything from scratch, and they used ingredients, they used fresh stuff, they made stuff, and that's what turned me on to it, and from there to pass up a few years, like I went from being the dishwasher all the way up to the head chef, creating menus and recipes and stuff like that. And then at the same time, I had this goal that I wanted to move to. I wanted to move out of the valley where I'm from by the time I was 25, and that opportunity came up from a client, massage client that I had. He said that he had a spare room in San Diego, and it's up for me if I ever wanted it. Because I was telling him how much I wanted to like leave and stuff like that, and yeah, and so I took it and I moved to San Diego. And while I was in San Diego, you know, you know what? I'm just totally fucking jumping around. I forget this part of the story that because it's like really really important. So when it's right before I started working for the restaurant, the vegan restaurant, I was with somebody, and me and him, we were together for about a year and a half, and fuck, this is a good one. So we were together for about a year and a half. Let's just call him Larry. Um, and it was cool. He was like really cool and really like spontaneous and fun and active and really like he was kind of annoying, but it was cute and just like he had a nice booty, but it was really cool. He was really nice and I felt comfortable with him, and he was one of the reasons why I started wanting to pursue cooking more because I was cooking a lot for him and stuff, and so I introduced him one time to a bunch of friends and stuff like that, and a few days later or a few weeks later I ran into a few more of those friends without him, and one of them brought me along to the side, and he's like, hey, I need to let you know something about Larry, and he let me know, and I was just like, what? And I couldn't believe it. I was like, really? And I was just like shocked. Like all the details were like too exact and spot on to not be real. And so I had to literally like drive from where I heard that information across town, like a 40-minute drive, freeway and all, to go pick up Larry from work. And that whole time I was thinking of like how I'm gonna confront him about this. And so finally I get to where I'm supposed to pick him up. He's like, what's wrong? I'm like, just don't talk to me right now. I'm thinking, and he's like trying to be all over me. He's like, babe, what's wrong? I'm like, just stop. Don't touch me either. I'm just really upset. He's like, okay. So we get to our house. We had a house. We're renting a house with somebody, and he gets out. I'm like, I'll be inside right now, and I call back up my homie, and I was like, hey, tell me again that information. I just want to make sure I know what it was, that I say what I'm gonna say correctly. And he's like, yeah. So we go over it again, and then so I finally go inside, and I go straight up to Larry, and I go, hey, is it true that you're HIV positive? And his jaw just drops, and he's like, how do you know? I'm like, don't matter. Just don't ask me how I know. Just, is it true? Like this, and this, and that true? Like the details. And he starts breaking down, and he starts crying, and like my heart, like I feel it right now too, like if it happened again. And I'm like, why couldn't you tell me? Why didn't you tell me? Like, dude, we didn't use condoms and stuff. And he's like, I can feel my heart pounding. And he's like, I'm sorry. And he's crying. He's like, I just wanted you to love me and this and that. Like, I wanted you to love me. And just, like, I wanted you to love me. Like, just don't leave me and this and that. That was one of the biggest ways that I found and learned compassion. And I thought, like, would I want someone to leave me if this happened to me? But then again, it didn't outweigh the fact that I was lied to and put in danger. My life was put in danger. My life was put in danger, and just like, and that was still on the stove, like it was still burning and simmering. That idea that this guy put me in danger. So right away, I went to go get tested. I told him that I forgive him and everything, and I went to go get tested, and it's fine. Totally cool. Nothing came out. It was one of those rapid type tests. Then I went again a few months later. Fine, nothing came out. And then, and I figured I was in the clear. And just like things with him, just like Jesus, I guess because things were built on that lie of a foundation, that was such a big thing, a pillar of trust. The relationship was still just damaged from that. And no matter times that I talked about it or that he wouldn't leave me alone to process it, like he just was on top of stuff until I just finally had to leave him. And then he went nuts. I was able to get my own apartment. I got a little doggy, a buddy for like 14 years. And, well, I had buddy with him and something, but I was able to take him with me. And, yeah, and I kept on getting tested, and everything came back negative, and I was getting fine. And, there was this one day that I let Buddy stay with him, and he comes and he's like, you need to come get Buddy, or else I'm taking him back to the pound. I'm like, all right, I'll go with you. So I go get in the car with him, and he's like driving around the curb, and I'm like, where are you taking me? Like, we drove past the house. He's like, no, I need to show you something. I'm like, where? He's like, I'm gonna take you here, which is like out in the desert in these like canyons. I just want to show you something. And I'm like, oh fuck, if I go with this dude, he's gonna fucking kill me. Like, I felt like I'm in danger. I'm like, dude, if you do not stop this car right now, I will never talk to you again. Why won't you love me? Like, he goes nuts, turns the car around, all Fast and the Furious, and then he's like, just love me, and he starts like hitting himself in the face all crazy. And I'm like, wow. He's like, I can't drive. And so like, I'm like, all right. So I drop him off, and that was it. But like, I told him I got all the last stuff that I need. I'm like, don't contact me ever again. That was it. I'm good. Let's still go. And yeah, so that ended. And I had my own apartment, and I was just going off on my own, doing my own thing, working at both places, IHOP and that new restaurant. And something just didn't feel right. And I ended up contracting a different STD. Because I was, a little cochino, promiscuous, whatever you want to call it. And while I went to go get that checked, I actually got a whole full blood panel checked. And they're like, all right, well, we'll give you a call in like a week and a half. If you don't get a call from us, you're fine. If you do, you're going to have to come in and talk to us. And I'm like, okay. So, like, they just felt cool about it. And, nothing ever happens to the bright-eyed, bushy-eyed person. Bright-eyed, bushy-tailed person. And so, a week goes by, and then a few days go by, and I'm like, all right, I might be in the clear because 2 weeks were coming up. And then, boom, I get a phone call that afternoon telling me that I need to come in and talk to one of the doctors. And so, oh man, my heart started pounding, and so there I go and I go to the doctors, and it wasn't even the doctor that I was seeing, because even the doctor that I saw there, I saw him other times, every time I needed to go to that clinic, and that he was always my doctor. This time, it took forever for the doctor to come, and I was in a totally different room in a different part of the building, and I remember just sitting down thinking like, oh man, what's gonna happen? And my homegirl Rosa knew that I was there getting the results, and a few weeks before that, I remember her telling me, she's like, I don't ever want you to call me with that information, right? I don't know why that we talked about that one time. And and so I'm waiting for the doctor to show up, and I'm waiting for him to show up, and like he is taking forever, and finally he shows up, and he's like, "All right, Mr. Martinez, totally the guy that's not my doctor." And well, we got some good news and some bad news, and then I look up, and I'm able to see through the paper because of lights that's shining above him. I'm able to see through the paper, and I see two lines, and at the end of the two lines, they both end with TIV, and the first one says negative, and the bottom one I could only see the TIV part of it because his finger's blocking it. And he's like, "You're negative for syphilis, and but I'm sorry, sir, but you're positive for HIV." And when that happened, there's this part in Saving Private Ryan where the bomb goes off next to Tom Hanks, and like it goes like that cell shock sound, like like tone deaf kind of thing. Like that's what happened. Like, and it was like that for like 2 minutes, 2 or 3 minutes. I couldn't hear nothing. I could hear the from the doctor, right? And and next thing, like, but we're gonna send you down to the nurse and have an appointment made for you so you can come back tomorrow and talk to somebody. Blah 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 blah. I'm like, all right, thank you. And he's like, you'll be okay. You're in good hands. Da 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 da. And so I remember getting out of there and waiting for a friend of mine to come pick me up, and I call Rosa, and she's like, "Hey, how'd it go?" I was like, "Rosa," and she's like, "Hey," like, "Rosa," and like she's like, "No," and I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "No," and then she starts like, getting her way, and then I got my way, and yeah, so she came right over, and it was just like, fuck. It was such a crazy night. Like I couldn't believe it. I totally felt numb for the whole day and the next few days. Um, but the next day when I had that meeting with the nurse, um, I was all sad and depressed, and she looks at me. She's like, "Mijo, why are you all sad?" Mijo means kid. She's like, "Mijo, why are you all sad?" And I was like, "Well, I just found out that I was HIV positive. That I'm HIV positive." And she's like, "Oh, don't think of it that way." She's like, "It's okay." She's like, "Hey, at least you're not diabetic." And I'm like, "What?" She's like, "Yeah, at least you're not diabetic, because one snicker and you're gone." And I just like, I cracked, like, that was the first smile or laugh that I had, like, in 24 hours. And it was just like, it broke me out of that, right? And so it might have been a bad joke, but it like broke me out of that. Um, and that just that just started to lead on to the next round of miracles that were about to happen for me. The new restaurant that I was working at, I had to set up all these doctor's appointments. And one day I had heard the owner of the restaurant talking to one of the cooks about appointments and doctor's appointments and numbers and statuses and stuff like that. And it took me a little bit to realize that they were talking about HIV. And and I knew that with all the appointments that I had coming up and what might happen to me, I needed to let like the boss know. Um, and so I did, and oh, man, that connected us so much. This man, like, he is something that that I needed. He's like the gay father that I needed at that time. Because when I told him, he embraced me and he hugged me and he told me that it was gonna be okay. And from that point on, he just started to teach me like his philosophy, because he was also HIV positive, is, and he just started to teach me like his philosophy on it and his thoughts on it, that it allows you to take your life more seriously, that it allows you to show you that the time that you have and that what you spend it to is your responsibility, and anybody that comes in your life, um, it's not their responsibility. It's yours to always manage the type of people that are in your life and what you're trying to save yourself from. Um, and so, and he was also the biggest inspiration, other than my mom, and into my cooking, of why I cook so well. So that just went on. Like it helped me. It helped me take it and embrace it. It helped me really use it as a shield to keep the people that weren't meant to be around me away, and bring in the people that were meant to be with me closer. Um, So so yeah, so that's like the and then so I kept that secret to myself. It was only me and Rosa and a few other people. Um, Eventually, that led up to me, achieving my goal of moving to San Diego with that one guy, that one client of mine, and I started my life in San Diego, and I ended up moving from his place to a different place and to University Park, which was like, oh my god, the gay guy's like dream of living in like the one of the like closest places to downtown and walking distance. It was awesome. It was so great living down there, and you know, before I continue into the San Diego story, I want to jump back to that Saving Private Riot moment, and because one of the first thoughts that I thought outside of getting out of that shell shock moment, one of the first thoughts I had was like, who's gonna love me? That was the first thought, like, who's gonna love me like this? And I felt empty, and I felt worthless, and I felt not worthy because I was tainted, and I had a mark, and it will always be there, and I will always have to reveal it, and it's something that I can't hide. If I truly care about somebody else, it's something that I wouldn't be able to hide from somebody else, and it was a part of my character and my identity now, and I couldn't hide it anymore. Just as much as being gay, man, was a part of my identity, and I couldn't hide it from my parents. This was part of the second coming out that I call when you have to reveal that you're HIV positive to somebody, and that was tough to know that I'm gonna have to constantly add that to my coming out story to people that randomly that it might matter to, and to randomly it might not. Um, but I remember that was one of the first initial thoughts was who's gonna love me, and just feeling empty and worthless from that. Um, and so yeah, so continuing on and like going and achieving my goals, San Diego, living there. My best friend Gabe, at the time, moved out there. God rest his soul. Um, because I was his best friend and he wanted to be with me. So I got him into the place that I was living at, and like one night I remember being out with him, and we were out at this bar called the Brass Rail, and like we were just out, and like I was up on these steps and I was just like looking out into the crowd and everything like that, and I just remember like locking eyes with somebody, and then it was just like I smiled and like they smiled, and I raised my eyebrows and they raised their eyebrows, and then we like started walking towards each other, and then we got to each other and just like, hey, and like, hey, do you want to dance? I'm like, yeah, let's dance. And so we made our way to the dance floor, and like I looked behind me and he was gone, and then I was like, where do you go? And then I turned around the other way and he's like, oh, I'm right here. And so we went and we danced for a while, and so long story short, we ended up taking him home. I ended up taking him home. and and he's probably watching this. We'll probably watch this later. We still talk as friends and stuff. Um, but I remember taking him home, and we are about to like get into it, and man, this is bringing up so much. So that was in February, all right. So that was in February. The reason why there's this part, there's this context. I was dating somebody in the December of that before that February, and everything was really cool with this dude. Everything was great. I was leaving out one major detail that I was positive, and everything was great. He was introducing me to people. I was getting known with other people in San Diego. It was really great. He was really somebody that was known as somebody there and awesome. And me and him are still friends too. We still talk to this day. But one night we ended up coming over a few days before Christmas, and he ended up coming over and was gonna spend the night. And kind of got a little going on. And later that night, I was like, "Hey, I have to tell you something." And he's like, "Yeah, you can tell me anything. What's going on?" Like, spit on, like, and I looked really like worried. He's like, "I'm like, what's wrong? Like, you could tell me what's going on." So I tell him, and he kind of like goes inward, and you could tell he's in his brain, like trying to figure it out. Like, why would I not tell him and stuff? And And I told him like I was afraid like you wouldn't want to be with me, and you know, like I'm sorry, and just like well we did this, you're gonna be fine. Like you didn't expose yourself in a bad way, and I'm this way. Like once you become like undetectable, you can't transmit it to other people. Um, and I'm on my meds and I'm fine. Like I can't give it to other people, and that's when that information started to come out, and he just flipped out, and so I'm like, let's just go to bed. Let's just go to bed. So we went to bed, and I remember like turning over and feeling for him, and there was nobody there. I remember waking up in the middle of the night and feeling like that abandonment feeling, right? Abandonment's gonna play a role in this. Um, that abandonment feeling, and and I get up and I go look around the house, and he's gone, and I go and I check the door, and the bottom lock is locked, and I look outside and the gate is open, and he's gone. And I was just like, and I text him, I was like, hey, like, are you okay? And just like nothing. And totally like just, yeah, that was like the word, like, other than being told about it, that I was like, when I was diagnosed with it, like being left because of that. Oh my god, dude. And I know I had my part in it. I know I should have told him. I know that was warranted. That feeling was warranted in the return of not telling somebody. And so I knew what that was. Oh, my light went out. And so yeah, so that's distracting. And so yeah. And from there it was just it was, yeah. And so like anyways, Christmas happened and whatnot, and just it was, I need to plug this in real quick, guys. There we go. And so like Christmas happened and just all that stuff, and then so anyways, back to like the February story. I met this guy, take him home, all this whatnot, right? And here I am ready to open myself up to somebody because we're connecting and stuff. We danced, and like he's just totally like into me and I'm totally into him, and it's fucking great. And so we're about to get into it, and I realize that I need to tell him about this. I need to tell him that I'm positive before anything happens, because I don't want what happened last time to happen this time. And so as he's like on, like, I'm not trying to be graphic, this is why it's, get your earphones. So he's on top of me, and he's like, we're making out, and like I stop him and I'm like, I need to tell you something. He's like, yeah. And I'm like, I'm looking at him, he's like, I'm HIV positive. And I'm just like, oh, like I felt the pressure on my chest. Like I'm HIV positive. And I felt the pressure on my chest waiting for the response. And then he looks at me and he smiles and he kisses me and he goes, so am I. And then that pressure on my chest just like explodes like confetti everywhere. And just like, it was nuts. That episode, I'll keep it. That's gonna end it with that part. And it was great. And and I could say and mark that relationship as one of the best relationships I've ever had. It ended tragically in a way that how we broke up. But that year that we were together, it was the best relationship in terms of open communication that I've had with somebody. And it was amazing. We went to the doctor together. We did everything with each other, and it was awesome. And there were times where my best friend at the time, Gabe, he was like, how do you do that? I'm like, what do you mean? Like, you got home at 5 o'clock. We're at dinner at 7:30, and you guys have not shut up. You guys even took a shower together and continued talking in the shower. And so like, I'm like, how do you guys not find things to talk about? I'm like, I don't know. We just talk about stuff. And so for me, that always put a pinpoint on what I look for in a relationship, in any relationship, the whether it be romantic or friendship. It's like the ability to have conversation and deep, intimate conversation. Um, oops. And so going on San Diego, in there, and I get a few job offers, and get my big job downtown at one of the big up and coming restaurants, and I learn how to make Turkish food. Like I learned Middle Eastern cuisine from these like three little Turkish women that teach me how to make bread and pasta and samsa and all their like hidden dishes and stuff that they don't teach nobody. They treated me like one of their daughters. Um, so during that time, me and that guy broke up, and let's just call him Jerry. Me and Jerry broke up, and it was hard. I felt like I lost my best friend. Um, it was on the day that we met. It was our 1 year anniversary, where he decided to break up with me, and that was bad. It was like I got hurt. I got really hurt. I was depressed. I remember calling Rosa on the phone and telling her how Jerry broke up with me. And I remember screaming on the phone to her, "He left me, Rosa. He left me. He left me. What am I supposed to do?" Oh my god, I can hear it in my head right now, just like screaming it to her. But I'm alive and I made it. I made it through that night, and I made it through the next night, and I put myself through like another year of torture trying to rekindle whatever I had with him. I couldn't let him go. Like, yeah, I did my own thing and stuff like that, and um, thanks, bro. Thanks, Alvarado. Um, and like, and like, so that ended, and it took a while, and just we're friends now and stuff like that. Like, he got married and everything, and I'm happy for him. So, but being in San Diego after I only stayed in San Diego for like 3 years, because I needed to come back home. My heart was broken, and my family could see it. My brothers had a talk with me one day, and they're like, "Dude, we know you need to come back home. Why don't you just pack your? We're all here." My family was there on vacation, and like, we're all here. We'll put all your shit in all our cars, pack it all up, and just come home in one moment, in one sweep. And it made sense. And my mom, like, really, I miss my mom a lot. I knew I needed to be around my mom. Uh, so yeah, so I came back, and I was count like coming back as a turning point or as a timetable of discovering who I am and stuff like that. So I ended up coming back to the valley, and after a month of being here, I knew that I needed to get a job and pay for my things. And so I went back to my old restaurant where I was at, and I went to visit, and I left with a job, and I got my old job back, and everything was all gravy. And I partied out, I lost weight, I got fit, I was like awesome. I was living my life, my 25 to like 30 era of life, like, was really like about me and doing me and discovering who I am. It was great. Like, so much happened. I'll probably like missed a lot in there, but like there was a lot of relationships and a lot of heartbreak and a lot of like discovering who I am and a lot of like hard work where I killed myself developing my cooking skills and who I am in those 5 years. And next thing that came up that was a big turning point was a friend of mine. I just got my car for the first time too. I worked my way up to that, and that was a big accomplishment. 'Cause I thought I was never gonna drive again from the car accidents that I had. There was 3 more other car accidents that I didn't say about, but those aren't as relevant. But like, from the car, I thought I was never gonna drive because I was so traumatized from it. But I'm getting a car, and when I was 30 or 29, 30, I started to get more into like healthy nutrition because of the work that I was doing at the vegetarian and vegan restaurant. And a friend of mine noticed, and she had went to this online health coaching school. It was called Institute of Integrative Nutrition. And I was like, oh, no, no, no. And then he used to come up like randomly sometimes, and finally for Thanksgiving, as a Black Friday sale came up, like so much off if you needed to act now. I'm like, oh, no, no, no. And I do, yeah, I'll do it when I go home. Totally forgot about it. Whole weekend passed. Cyber Monday comes up. Now it was like 75% of what I was off, whatever. I was like, well, fuck it, I'll do it now. So I did it, and then I get it, and that changed my life into like realizing that I could make something out of this. Hold on, guys, 1 second. I'm gonna change my battery on my I'm still on. Don't leave. Don't leave. There we go. Bam. All right. So, so like this health coaching school and stuff like that, right? And it like totally changed my life into thinking that I could teach people how to cook nutritiously and show them how to do this and help people show them what food is doing to them and change their lives. And just like at that same time, I'm like, cool, I have all this great job, I have money, I have a car. Oh, I'm gonna start dating this guy. The guy that left me in the middle of the night in San Diego when I told him I was HIV positive, that guy came out of nowhere, back out of the picture. And we squashed a lot of things, and we got reacquainted, and we were together for almost a year and a half as I was going through my health coaching school and health coaching business school, and started to get clients and stuff while I was working. And just things just started not to work out because I felt like I was being pulled in two different directions, wanting to be a coach and develop a business, and him wanting me to pay more attention to our relationship, which I thought and felt I was. And then we just had to end it because I wanted to have my business more. And then there you go, back out being me, being a coach. I got into essential oils, doTERRA, conventions, just like flew to New York for the health coaching school and all that. Just I got really immersed in wanting to be a coach and helping people. And then I remember in one of the lectures of health coaching school from the teacher, he's like, "This is just a doorway. This is gonna open up an avenue of totally different pathways of ways and modalities that coaching could be taken into." And I was thinking like, wow, like how do I wait till that happens? Because yes, there's health coaching and nutrition and the way that we eat, but there's also the emotions and triggers connected to why we eat that way. And then what are those emotions and triggers to emotional traumas and people and situations. And that led me to what I talk about now, to knowing that there's more into life that there is, which is the spiritual purpose of relationships. And I talk about that now, but I'm not trying to jump ahead to that yet. So, I started developing that, and I started working at the same time, and I'm trying to balance both at the same time. And then I realize I have to put more into work. And as I'm doing that, and we open another restaurant, and things are going well, I meet this new person named Ray, and I met him at the ending of a relationship that I was already in, and Ray was really cool. I remember he worked at the coffee shop across the way from me, and so Ray, would come and be all cute, and we decided to go out and meet one time, and we hit it off really good, and it was really cool. He was really handsome and charming and really nice, and we ended up getting together. And about a month or two after that, I ended up losing my job at the restaurant because I got really attitudey and cocky and thinking that, oh, you can't run this place without me kind of thing. And just thinking that I'll rely on being a coach, really develop that. And this guy, Ray, was really, supportive, but then when I wasn't taking action in the things that I said I was going to take action in, it was hard for him to be supportive, which was real, He was also a Gemini, and me being a Libra, and that was started on the whole cancel culture of Geminis to Libras for me. I'll get into that later. And so it was great, and things started going downhill since I lost my job, and he was sober. He didn't do anything, and he had his own issue with addiction and stuff like that, so that's why he was sober and in the program. And one day he suggested to me, like, hey, do you want to go to a meeting? And you guys, know that I have like the standing thing with sobriety and stuff. And that's how it started. And I was like, no, not this time. And then a few days later, he asked me again if I wanted to go, and I was like, yeah, sure, I'll go with you this time. And then that's how I found sobriety, and I went and I found my place there, and it's been good. About a year into it, a few days, we had broken up about a month or two after he realized that we were I was a little bit too damaged for him, I guess, and he had no problem telling me that. Um, but instead of going into my routine of like, all right, well, you don't want to be with each other, I'll stop talking to you, I'll stop being around you, you don't get to see me, da 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 da. You know, my sponsor at the time, my sponsor just was like, no, don't do that. You're, you know, internalizing it, and you know, you need to be expressed. So I tried this whole friendship thing with him, which totally shouldn't have been what I did, because it just turned into this 3 years of blah that just totally messed me up and put me at a stall of everything that I was doing in my life, and put me in through this like bout of depression and emotional eating, and totally forgot everything that I learned about nutrition and health. And yeah, that was really tough, and it was 3 years of that, and on and off, and just like about a year into me being sober, uh, he had an episode where he had relapsed, and it just totally took anything away from me. And then it was just like the next year was just like the repeating revolving door episode of that. And then it went into almost another year until I finally had to cut ties in my own way, and just things were just built up and happening. And all in all, the long part of it all was like I kept going on with this thing of trying to solve this question of who's gonna love me. And I try to fit every person that I was with into that box of who's gonna love me. Are you gonna love me? 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 Here's how you're gonna love me. Here's how you need to love me. Here's how you need to love me. And that's frustrating. That's when I realized what I was doing. Um, so anyways, all in all, like I took my stand, and I told Ray that, you know, we can't be together no more. We can't talk no more. I don't want to be. I need to take my stance from you. A few months passed by, and all that happened, and then we run into each other again. And I just realized things changed. That I was still holding on to him, and I was still holding on to those things, and I was still holding on to all the hopes of us being together. And I realized that that wasn't gonna happen, and it just allowed me to let go of it. Um, I had a few run-ins with a few other Geminis. The most recent one that I was with, oh wow, we're already at an hour. The most recent one that I was with is what actually started this whole catapult into doing all my lives again and doing Coffee with Adam again. Um, I started talking about being vulnerable, and in the arena, I started dating this dude named, what was his name? Let's change his name to Jason. So I started dating this dude named Jason. He was also a Gemini, and we clicked, and everything was great. Conversation was amazing. We could be open. I felt like because I let go of Ray so hard and knew that I cut that tethered, I felt like free and open, and I could finally be me. And I stopped emotionally eating, and that depression was gone, and like Adam was waking up again, right? Adam was alive, and like especially that this dude Jason was coming around, and putting myself in that arena with him of being open and vulnerable with somebody finally, and wasn't afraid to accept what I was saying, and wasn't afraid to tell me his things and stuff like that. And then little by little, you know, the truth came out about that dude was a two-timing person. But it also showed me that everything that I had went through with Ray, you know, was preparing me to like just go with people that weren't even ready, that amounted to that. Like, so letting go of Jason was just like, dude, you're small fries compared to what I've been through the last fucking 3 years. But also, it's what kickstarted the momentum into providing all this like content that I'm putting out now of the arena of vulnerability relationships. Like, I realized what those purposes of those relationships were. And so because this momentum kickstarted all this stuff, it started to put me in front of the right people and audiences, and my friend Christina started taking notice that I'm doing more and more. And so she got me connected with a group of people that were doing this challenge called a Fear to Fuck It challenge. And she's like, I believe in you. I believe in this program. I think with everything that you're doing and the momentum that you have right now, it will totally help you. And so I'm like, okay. So I go onto it, and I'm getting triggered by all these people sharing this vulnerability stories of themselves, but also finally I spend some time with them on one of a Zoom call, and I get to know them, and I just realize like, these are my people. These are the people that I want to be around, right? And because I'm getting involved with them, I get challenged by the group leader, Jamie, to go live and tell my story. I did a 10-minute version of my story in the group that we were in, and nothing compared to this. But one thing that I pulled out of that 10-minute thing was to share my story. And when I got to the part of sharing my story about HIV, it it really hit me when I said that moment of when I asked who's gonna love me when I found out. It really hit me at that moment, sharing that in the group, at that moment, that the whole time I knew the answer. The whole time I was doing it. That whole time from when I asked that question of who's gonna love me till now, the answer was me. Yeah, the answer was me. Like, I'm gonna love me. I'm gonna love me the right way. I'm gonna carve out my own way. I'm gonna carve out my own path, my sacred flow, and I'm gonna provide for it, and I'm gonna do it my way. Like, I'm gonna love me. And that, like, got me so much in my chest. Like, I felt that pressure on my chest and just released that. I hit it. I answered the question. And as cliche as it might have sounded, that's what echoed loudly in my head about it. Who's gonna when I was sharing that about who's gonna love me, it was just like, you are. You're gonna love you. Me. And it was just a profound feeling, and like I got, like, of course, like, all teary-eyed and everything like that. But it was amazing. It was a great, powerful, and moving moment. And yeah, and so that was probably like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and that's pretty much the story up until now. That's pretty much my story of what I'm doing, and now I'm talking about what I love to talk about. I love to talk about the spiritual purpose of relationships. Right now, I hope my story helped any of you guys share yours with other people that are around you. I want you guys to share your story. Like, you guys want to send me a message with your story, I'd love to read about it. Like, this is going to end up being on the podcast and stuff, because this was good. I think I felt like I said everything that was needed to say. If anything that I left out or people, it was just probably because it didn't make the impact into the story of how I wanted to be done at the time. When I write my book, there'll probably be more details. but but yeah, this is just this is my story, and thank you for letting me share it with you guys. Um, the facets of this story, you know, there's so many of them, and I hope that you could take the ones that matter to you and apply it, and use what you heard from me and use it in your own story to tell somebody else, like, you know, facets of hope and inspiration, that they could get through it, that they could do something, and that this vulnerability that I'm sharing with you guys, it can actually provide strength for you guys to do the same. That this light that I'm shining in front of you guys, you know, shows you that you could do the same, that you could shine brighter, that you could shine the same way. So yeah, I think I'm gonna end it with that, guys. So again, thank you guys for letting me share. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for those that were watching for the whole hour. This was great. I hope this helps you guys get to know me a little bit more and what I'm doing and why I do it. Stay tuned for more Coffees with Adam, Monsters with Adam, Adam's Oracle Lives that are coming out. Just a lot of stuff's coming out. Like, my own one-on-one coaching program is being developed right now. Yeah, and coaching about what you say? About relationships and understanding them and getting to know them and how to work on you to better work on them, on those relationships with other people. Just because that matters. And going into this new year with COVID and everything going on, and the whole separation of not being able to be around people, the development of the depth of the relationship is what's going to matter most to get along with everybody. So it's not, we're all in the idea of how many followers and how many friends that we have, how many, but how deep is it though? All right. I'll see you guys later. You guys have a beautiful, bright, and shining evening. And yeah, toodles poodles. Again, you guys share this with anybody that you might think it might help. Tag them. Let me know what you think in the comments. I would love to read all your stuff. Okay? You guys have a great day. And toodles poodles.